it's something we spend an awful lot of time talking about. It's certainly something we practice at a really high level. I think Coach Dougherty does a phenomenal job preparing and organizing our special teams. And then we've got great buy-in, and we were actually just talking about this last week. Like, I think one of the best examples that's happened this year is you look at a kid like Josh Pickett, and Josh Pickett comes in and he started games last year at corner for us, and he competed to be a starting corner this year, and maybe didn't win the battle the way he had hoped, or wasn't getting the reps at corner the way he has hoped, and he's gone out there and started in all 4 units, all 4 games, and had a major impact on us winning football games on special teams. And Cam Bergeron's like that, James Hobson's like that. Then you got like starters running around. Jalen Stinson goes out there on punt return this week, and he takes the left tackle and he drives them 18 yards into the sideline to open up a lane. You know what I mean? And that's a starting safety going out there buying into what we're trying to do on special teams. And so I just think we've got really good buy-in. I think we're doing a really good job coaching it, and I think our kids are going out and executing. And in terms of having an advantage, we only have an advantage if we go out and execute the way we're capable of. And so we've just got to continue to do the things that we're doing and use that to our advantage Saturday.
Talk about buy-in. I believe you had a kicker make a tackle.
Yeah. No, that was. I tell you what, that was a neat little reverse that they ran, and that was not something. One of the things we do is we go do some deep dives in special teams to make sure we see everything we can see, and that was not one that we had seen, and they did a really good job, and I think Charlie really saved that from being an explosive play and was able to go throw his body around. It's the second time he did that. If you remember last year against Virginia, he did the same thing and caused the fumble on a return that was going to get out. And so, he's a very athletic kid, and so it helps us having him back.
Coach, the last 3 weeks in the second half, been able to rotate and really see some depth. How important is that leading up to a game like this, and even for the rest of the season, not only for the young guys to get the playing time, but also for your ones to maybe catch their breath in the first month of the season?
Yeah, I think both of it. I think one, we talk about it in 3 phases. I think there's 3 phases that have happened at the end of those games. One is being able to get your starters out, which is important because the less wear and tear you can put on their body in the midst of a 12-game season, and we certainly have a heck of a run coming up now over the next 8 games. So the fresher you can be going into that, the better it is for sure. So that's the starting point. Then the next thing is, we talk about like the 1.5s, right? That next kid in at each position, and you don't know exactly which one it is, but of that whole group, someone's going to be out there. Probably 4 or 5 of them at some point are going to be out there and have to execute at a really high level for us to win football games. Whether that's a Peyton Jones, whether that's a Henry Beelan, whether that's a Jeremiah Hazley, whether that's a Cam Bergeron, like whoever it is, go down position by position. And so for those guys to get game reps, I think is really important, and so that part of it is really good. And then when you're able to win like we have, then you're also getting the third stringers in, which is a lot of those freshmen, and to get Samaj Turner reps and be able to utilize his 4 games, and David Anderson reps and be able to utilize his 4 games, that's not even something we were able to do last year. And that's those are great opportunities for kids to take advantage of this 4-game redshirt rule, because those are not guys you can play on special teams. You can't get we'll be able to rotate all of our freshmen through on special teams in different games throughout the year, but for some of those linemen who don't get that opportunity unless you get into those types of games, that's just great experience. We got Kamari Robinson out there at corner like that. Those things are huge for the future development of our program.
Mike, when you came in, you guys had to rebuild confidence, competitive edge, all these elements to the team. From your defensive coordinator history, when you came in and looked at where you guys were defensively, what did you immediately say, like, this is the most important thing defensively, we've got to get done as quickly as possible?
There's so many things. I think, and I've done this a lot as a defensive coordinator, I think the first thing that just jumps out is fundamentals. Like you start to try to instill the fundamentals of how you believe defense should be played, and that's not to slight anyone who was here in the past or anything like that. Everywhere I've been, that's always kind of been the first thought process is we believe in a certain way of how we play football, how we attack the football, how we tackle, how we block destruct, how we leverage the ball, how hard we play. Like those have been staples of what we believe in on defense everywhere I've ever been. And so I think it just starts with that. I think it starts with a mindset and an attitude. And then, and we talked about this a lot last year, just we play defense a lot different. than maybe what they've done in the past. And so just, again, not right or wrong, just a lot different. And so just trying to get all of that instilled and what that looks like and how we execute that and how we communicate and the things that we need to do. And then it's been great getting Tyler in. And honestly, he deserves all of the credit for what's going on in our defense this year, him and our defensive staff, because I help a little, but it's really them. They're running the whole thing. He's calling the whole game, and I think they've just elevated this thing to a whole new level.
There's been a lot of people talk about physicality with you guys defensively, especially the Clemson game, that it really stood out to them a little bit. How important was that part too? The idea of having a tough and physical defense that or at least bringing more of that out of them with this group.
Yeah, I mean, you can't play football without being physical. If you look at who has won, not who has generated media buzz, not who has scored a lot of points, but if you look at who has won football games over the years, it's teams that play physical. It's teams that punish you. It's teams that play extremely hard. That's the recipe, right? If you look at the teams that have won the last handful of national championships, that's what you would say. They have physical, imposing defenses. They can run the ball. And they can execute in the passing game when they need to and when they want to, right? But they're based off of physicality. You don't see a lot of teams winning the national championship running spread offenses. You don't see a lot of teams winning national championships scoring 50 a game and giving up 40 a game. Those teams create headlines, and those teams are fun to watch, but that's not the teams right now that are winning championships.
I was going to say, too, that the rules and everything is so offensive driven in today's game and what people want to see, but you guys have given up 5 touchdowns on the season. I think you're only one of 6 to do 5 or fewer. How difficult is something like that to do in today's game? And is there a thing you can point to and say this is the biggest reason why with this group we've been able to keep teams out of the end zone?
No, I mean, I think we're on the same page. I think we're playing well. I still think there's a lot of room for growth, and so I've said that before. We're very critical of everything, and so as we see it from a coach's eye, we know the stretch that we have coming, and this is going to be the stretch that defines who and what we're about. And so that's not just this game; that's really the next 8. So we're off to a good start, but we're a third of the way through. So let's have those conversations down the line sometime.
Going back to Riley, both you and Kevin John said in the preseason that you hope to get to chapter 2 of the playbook. Do you feel like you're there? And he has yet to throw an interception. Do you feel like you guys have kind of thank you. Do you feel like you guys have, I don't know, dialed him back a little bit in his aggressiveness to try?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't. Riley's been really good with the football since we've been here. I think that's one thing. He understands the value of the ball, and there's kids who just get that, right? There's kids who you can say that to, and you can teach that to, and you can go over and over and over, and they just don't understand it, and they put the ball at risk a lot. I think Riley understands it, and we've been very documented in how we present that to the team, and I think he's taken it and understands it. And so I think he's very understanding of the value of a 5-yard scramble versus throwing a 50-50 ball into tight coverage, right? And those things matter from a game management standpoint. But we also knew going into this year that we were going to have to be able to execute a higher efficiency passing game. And I think we've been able to do that. It hasn't shown up in these big monstrous stats because we haven't needed it like that. But I think over the last 3 games he's completing, it's got to be something like 75% of his passes. And so we've been extremely efficient operating and executing in the throw game. And that's something that as we get into the meat of this schedule is going to need to continue for us to be successful.
Coach, on the flip side of that, Sam Hartman also